my Mac Tools cart and my Toolvault box over there. Gonna give you a quick tour, and I hope you enjoy the video. Guys, so that's my tool cart in the front and then my Toolvault box in the back. We can get started with the cart first. It's a Mac Tools branded cart. It's got 3 full-length drawers, storage on the bottom, split stainless steel top, which I do like the stainless steel up here. And I also actually prefer this split top design as opposed to, say, like a clamshell design. This just gives me a little more usable area to work with. I could have a scan tool, laptop on this side, fill out a work order on this side. Up here, I do like to keep this area fairly open. On the sides here, screwdrivers, pry bars, breaker bars. As far as screwdrivers go, these Instincts are going to be my go-to. As far as pry bars go, I typically run Mayhew up here in this dirty area. Bunch of magnets and kind of a catch-all there. And this is my split beam snap-on torque wrench, great for doing lug nuts. First drawer, I have sockets, go-to ratchets, bunch of extensions and specialty sockets, Allen sockets, and some impact sockets up on that side. Second drawer, wrenches and pliers, flank drive plus, gear wrench flex head, bunch of picks, some oil change things, pliers. I've got snap-on Talon grip, Nipix, Cobras, just a variety of different things that I would use every day. Up here I have, this is a Genius set. Last drawer here, pneumatics and my hammers. Ingersoll Rand, snap-on MG325, another IR, 3/8 air ratchet, right angle impact. Got an Onyx Astro, which is pretty cool. This is a 1/2 inch. And then this is actually my favorite tool. This is a Milwaukee Fuel 1/4 inch. And I don't know why, I bought it and right away I just knew this was my favorite tool. So just got snap-on dead blows, mallet, engineer hammer, and a bunch of ball peen hammers. 3/8 impact, M18, M12 stubby 3/8, which is a beast. I love this. And then a couple Craftsman impact. All right, guys, this is my main box. It's a Toolvault 72-inch classic box. Also has the Hutch and side locker. Let you take a look in here. These do not come pre-lit, and so it is a little dark in here if you don't have the stainless steel top. I went ahead and installed some lights. Put some strip LEDs into there, underneath that shelf there. So computer here, Mitchell On Demand, Identifix, mostly just music. Jump box, chargers on this side, bunch of batteries, a couple stream lights. Up top here, first aid kit. I got a bunch of bolt bins, bolts, nuts, things I would ever need. Cotter pins, clips, a couple manuals up there. In this first full-length drawer, those are fender covers. This is a snap-on Modus. This is kind of an older version. Top here does have the oscilloscope, which is one of the biggest reasons why I got this Modus. Power probe, bunch of torque wrenches over here, Matco 1/2 inch, snap-on 1/4 inch, and a bunch of friction type torque wrenches. I do keep a lot of my bigger sockets, axle nut sockets on this side in this top drawer just because they're so massive. If you guys are not familiar with the Drill Doctor, this guy is awesome. I have a cheap set of Harbor Freight drill bits, and they have lasted me forever. And that's just because I keep using this Drill Doctor to sharpen them up, and they cut so nice. They're really awesome. So a couple bins here. These just kind of a catch-all, but these both have partial sets of a Matco tap and die. Kind of hard to sell a partial Matco tap and die set, so I just went and kept them as spares. These are some specialty sockets I've got. This is a crank pulley holder for Hondas and Acuras. Heavy duty stud puller, light duty stud puller, and a bunch of other specialty sockets in there. This right here, kind of just a mess. This is where I would put my keys and wallet in the morning. These guys, they go on your arms and they protect you from anything that's really hot. I've gotten these right next to a red catalytic converter, and they did smoke pretty bad, but my arm didn't melt off. So this is a snap-on 1/2 inch ratchet that I use quite a bit. I got my super long nut. Was this a 1/2 inch? So this is a transmission extension. Bunch of other things in here not really worth mentioning. Some grabber tools, magnets, straight edge in here for checking the trueness of heads and blocks. This is a Matco Bluetooth speaker, and it has fallen like 7 or 8 times, and it completely falls apart when it falls. The first time it happened, I thought it was just broken, but I just pieced it back together like Legos, and it works. It actually works really good. Second drawer here, second full length drawer, is my wrench drawer. Our metric, standard, metric, stubbies, metric, offset, ratcheting, standard, metric, 6-point, metric, stubby, metric, standard. These are like line wrenches for flare nut, and then metric flare nut. And then I also have these guys. I don't have these in a rack, but I love these where they have the flex head on them. But these are metric as well. And next drawer. This is the next full length drawer anyway. This is my socket drawer. Deep, shallow, 1/2 inch, 3/8, 1/4 inch, 12-point, 6-point, you name it, it's in there. A bunch of Allen keys, snap-on shallow drive sockets, and just a bunch of Allens and bigger axle nut sockets. Okay, this top drawer right next to the full-length drawer. 10-piece line disconnect set. This is a thermometer for doing AC work. You know, a lot of guys have, say, like a thermometer like this that you put in the vent, and those are cool. This kind of takes it up a notch. It's the power probe, and basically you stick this guy in the vent, and it sends a signal to this main unit, and so you can carry this around the car. You can be outside of the car checking the compressor, and it'll give you a reading, which is pretty sweet. And you can actually add, I think you can add another sensor to this setup as well, so you can have 2 sensors running, one on each side of the car. Bunch of terminal toolkits, zip ties, a lot of O-rings, clips, razor blades, a couple coolant testers, and just a lot of pieces and parts that I always use day to day in here. Temp guns, engraver. I don't have to hunt too long to find things. Next drawer. This is going to be a roll pin punch set. This is a snap-on set. Matco Tools roll pin insertion set. Snap-on punch and chisel set. So it's kind of a mess in here, but massive chisels in there. Puller sets. I have some brass stuff in here. Harmonic Balancer puller. And installer sets. Just a cheapo Harbor Freight puller down there. And then I have some brass stuff inside of this blue case here. So okay. Next drawer is my electric drawer. So really long leads. These are made by Lang. Heat gun, bunch of shrink wrap, fluke, Innova meter, a couple different amp clamps, bunch of spare wire and solder. I have 3 or 4 different test lights. I have an LED test light for working with computers. Bunch of stuff in here that works for my scan tool and scope. And then I have a bunch of electrical tape in the back here. On this side, this is a middle drawer. Screwdrivers, T-handles. These are Astro branded. This is going to be Torx, metric Allen, and then standard Allen. A few different screwdrivers up here. These are going to be Cornwall Torx, Snap-on Instinct, Craftsman Professional. I do have a couple cases here that we can take a look at. So mini Torx drivers, mini screwdrivers. Pretty awesome sets when you're working with small things like electronics. So next drawer, a few blow molds, gear wrench, belt adjusting tool or removal, spring brake tool kit, wrench, specialty socket set, mostly for oxygen sensors, but also has sockets for oil pressure sending units. A Lyle inner tie rod set, 9 different sizes, as well as the removal tool. This is a pneumatic fan clutch wrench set. Really make short work of fan clutches. Hook your air gun to that, your air hammer to that, and you got a bunch of different sizes down here for removing the fan clutch. Last thing, I didn't need to remove this from the drawer. I probably shouldn't have because this is starting to fall apart, but this is a snap-on freeze plug installer. Deeper center drawer. This has a good variety of my pliers. I've got 2 plier racks, front and back. This corner has most of my Knipex stuff. These are snap ring pliers. Straight, right angle, big, small, internal, external. Got some more snap ring pliers, straight cutoffs, Knipex pliers, just some slip joint Knipex. Whitco slip joints, a couple Blue Point. These are great for taking off hoses. I think that's what they're for. Blue Point hose removal tools or pliers, and a bunch of other channel lock pliers over there. A bunch of scissors that I always seem to need. Some tin snips and different snips. I use a lot of these for like cutting radiator hoses and things like that. Up front here, these are pretty awesome. I use these a lot for alignments. This is a snap-on like pipe wrench. Definitely comes in handy. I also have the larger version. This one's made by Baco, which is essentially snap-on. Wire snips, terminal cleaners, exhaust hanger removers, automatic wire strippers. And over here, just a group of vice grips, a couple other specialty pliers. So the drawer next to it, a bunch of brushes in the back here, some files, scrapers, small pry bars and prying tools, a couple small pullers, interior trim panel tools, inspection mirrors, and just a few odds and ends in this drawer. Next drawer down, this one's a little bit deeper. It's my air drawer. Right angle die grinder, straight die grinder, right angle drill, pistol grip drill, air hammer, straight cutoff wheel, cross cutout wheel. These air ratchets don't typically get much use anymore. Just battery powered tools just come such a long way that these are starting to become kind of obsolete. Bunch of replacement discs, cutoff wheels, sanding discs. I have some carbide disc or bits here. Definitely come in handy when you need them. And some more grinding wheels up front. It's a deep drawer. More blow molds. This is an OTC front end service kit. Comes with a bunch of different pullers, pitman arm puller, and just a bunch of ball joint splitters and tools you'd need to service a front end. This is a dial bore gauge. I just needed to check a motor that I'm building at the house. Same thing with this guy. I bought it just for the house. I'm building that motor. A bunch of different digital calipers. Muddy vacuum pump. Comes with a bunch of different accessories and hose. This is a Stinger power steering pump pulley remover and installer. And the only thing that's ever broken on me is this like a thrust bearing in there. And I've had to replace that a couple times, but otherwise it's held up pretty good. More wire terminal kits. Awesome for taking apart wire terminals. This is one of my incomplete fuel injection tester kits. Great for testing fuel pressure. This is the last tool in that box. It's basically a manual impact. And so if you have tight clearances where you're working and you need to get, say, like a crank pulley off, put your socket on there, put it on the crank pulley bolt, hit it on here a bunch of times with your sledge. It has a protector up here to protect your hand, and it'll just break free. Next drawer over. Got a bunch of bowl molds. There's hex long pattern, just regular Torx and regular triple square. So This is a keeper remover for removing valves. Pretty cool kit. This is a belt stretching tool to remove belts that don't have a tensioner, and then just a terminal tool. Missing the B. So this is a orifice tube remover from Snap-on. This is a Triton 3 valve spark plug remover for when they break. And this guy is a knuckle splitter. Basically, when the ball joint goes through the knuckle, this can go in there and open it up so you can remove it. So this guy is a helicoil kit. It's for rethreading oxygen sensors for when they get stripped out. This is a long pattern triple square. I use this a lot for getting into where head studs are. And this is a just clutch alignment tool. So up here is a stud remover. Basically grabs on any studs. Steering wheel puller and a vacuum pump. So vacuum gauge for checking motors as well as back pressure. This is a brake caliper depressor, great for doing them, and they have the e-brake integrated into the caliper and then a Nord light set. A few other things in here that I didn't take out that are up there already. So this is a mini dial indicator, rethread kit, air conditioner adapter set from going from 134A to R12, a special dampener pulley remover for some of the domestics, just a few things in here that I don't want to have to take all the way out, and then I have my my borescope. So last drawer on this box is this center bottom. So in here, got my Snap-on Microvat. This is the newer updated leak detector that I have. Some Matco extractors, a couple of brake piston depressors, ignition timing light. I put most of my bigger pipe wrenches down there when I'm doing bigger truck alignments. Sometimes I'll need those. These are the drill bits that I've got. That drill doctor still saves me every time on them. Impact screwdriver down there hidden below. This is just a remote starter. A lot of these wires go to this Microvat tester. Microvat is a battery and alternator tester. I believe it's just a conductance tester. And just make sure your battery's working okay. This is an OTC injector pulser. Awesome for doing injector balance tests. If you're ever having to do injector drivability tests, that's definitely a tool I would highly recommend getting. This side, a bunch of helicoil stuff. This big guy is used for bigger Ford trucks, for putting the seals back in of the hub. Snap-on injection set. Snap-on fuel pressure tester. Definitely the best, hands down, fuel pressure tester on the market. Definitely a good set. Now we'll run over to the locker. I don't know if I mentioned, this is my chair, my swivel chair that I love. It just rolls awesome. This one's made by Cornwell, but a bunch of different companies rebrand this chair. So the locker itself has 3 shelves and then 3 drawers, 2 shallow and 1 deep. We'll start with the first shelf and work our way down. So this is just a few things I pulled out real quick. A few vials measuring. Usually I use these for doing AC work so I can measure how much oil comes out and how much oil I need to put back into a vehicle. Mighty Vac vacuum pump for bleeding brakes, as well as the reservoir filler. Fluid film. This is awesome stuff when you're doing just about anything on a vehicle and you don't want it to get corroded or rusty. These are radiator cap adapters. To be honest, I don't use these very often. This set actually goes with my Modus. It has all the adapters for OBD1 connectors from if I'm working on an older vehicle. And it also has a few extra keys in there. If you guys aren't aware, the older scan tools that Snap-on has uses these keys on their diagnostic port So depending on the vehicle, the scan tool will tell you which key to put in. K17, K20, those are pretty common. But yeah, new styles don't have this. They don't even have this wire. Everything's Bluetooth. So kind of behind the times. A few more adapters for cooling systems. This is a Gates, they call it a Driveline Laser tool. Basically, if you ever have a squeaky belt and you can't figure out what's going on with it, you can check the alignment on it. You basically put this bad guy onto the, like usually it's the crank pulley, but you put it in the grooves of the pulley, and then you'll be able to tell whether or not it lines up with the pulley next to it. And if they don't line up, that's definitely what's causing your squeak. AC flushing tank, definitely a good investment if you're ever doing AC work. This is a Napa Echelon fuel injector cleaning system. Basically cleans your fuel injectors. And that was the last tool on the first shelf. Next shelf, Harmonic Balancer puller. If you haven't noticed, I've got several of these. This one's Matco branded. Power probe short finder. This guy's pretty awesome. Basically helps you find the short or open in a circuit. Snap-on compression gauge test kit. Variety of different thread pitches for different motors. Definitely came in handy. This is a Rebco. This is a tread thermometer. I have an S2000 that I like to take track sometime. I haven't gotten a chance to use this yet, which is kind of sad, but hopefully one day. Second Mighty Vac brake bleeder. This is a so this is used for taking axles out of a rear end, of a solid rear end. Kind of flip, fish it in, put it behind the bearing, and then use a slide hammer, hammer them out. This is a Phoenix injection kit. Not very many people have these, but same thing as that brake bleeder. I use the Mighty Vac more than this guy. Typically, I don't break this out very often. Brake rotor caliper. Power belt, fan clutch wrenches. I don't use these very often anymore just because I have that pneumatic set. This is my vacula. This is basically for evacuating any air out of a cooling system so that when you go to refill it, you don't have a bunch of air in the system to create pockets of air, overheating conditions. I don't use this very often, just when I do start getting into some sort of overheating situation. Another steering wheel puller. This is the leak down detector tester that I like to use. This is made by Snap-on as well, but it's kind of a vintage model. I don't know why I like this one more than the other one. It's kind of cool. This one's built into this blow mold case, but yeah, it comes in handy. This is a 13-piece wheel lock remover. If you ever have locking lug nuts on your car and you lose your locking lug nut key, I'm able to take it off. A lot of people just bash on a 12-point socket onto it. This is an actual kit that's made for it. This is an ATD front end set for bearings. Basically, instead of having to use a press to press the bearing in and out, I'm able to keep the bearing and knuckle on the car. That way I don't have to do an alignment afterwards. Definitely a solid kit if you're looking for a press, and it's a time saver. This is the last thing down in that bottom shelf. It's a UV light made by Tracerline, and it puts out a ton of light when you're looking for leaks with dye. So the side locker does have 3 drawers in it as well. This top one is just tap and dies and a rethread kit. Really nothing too crazy in there. I'm not going to open them just because everybody knows what's inside of a tap and die set. Second drawer here, oil pressure test kits, another pulley and gear set, and then some block fluid, some block test fluid for that block tester I showed earlier. Got a riveter. Sometimes when you're removing a window regulator, you have to cut the rivets off, so this is for replacing the rivets. A few more blow molds down here. Cooling pressure tester kit. This style is a little different than a lot of conventional testers. Basically, this bladder swells up and goes over where the radiator cap was to seal the whole system. Then you use this pump to pump pressure into the system. I like it because it seems to be a lot quicker for me than having to find a adapter that'll fit in there. I do have to keep these adapters as well as the adapters that are in there for caps. So when I want to test a cap to make sure it's holding the right pressure, I've got to have the adapters for them. Relay testing kit. Comes with a good assortment of different style relay testers. Basically, you put this where the relay was, and you can check to see if you have power on the load side or the other side. Also has a switch in here where you can activate it manually. A bunch of different and wire adapters. Also has some relay pliers. This is the last blow mold in that case. This is made by Steelman, and it's a wireless chassis ear. This basically, you can take these little sensors and clip them anywhere on the body or the chassis, and it will tell you where the noise is at. So you use these to clip onto the body of the car or the chassis or any steering suspension component. And then you use this guy. All of these report back to this. So that's it for inside my box. I do have pry bars. These are all Mayhew except for that one on the end is a Cornwell. And then I've got a few others in my cart. Up top here above my locker, I've got my smoke machine. It's made by OTC back there. Great for finding leaks. Another battery tester. This is a carbon pile load tester, which is great. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. If you like this tour, consider smashing that like button. I am planning on doing a bunch of toolbox tours on this channel. I've got a few lined up already. So if you want to subscribe, that way you don't miss out on all these other tours. Thanks. See you on the next one.